It's easy to pick out the things in life that matter most, but keeping those things organized can be a real problem. That's where Tonia Tomlin, professional organizer and founder of Sorted Out, and Nicole Arnold, interior designer and founder of Nicole Arnold Interiors, come in. Between Tonia's passion for organizing and Nicole's eye for design, there's no telling how much a little structure and a lot of spackle can do. Welcome to Savvy, Wise, and Organized. And now, your hosts, Tonia Tomlin and Nicole Arnold.
Hi, welcome back to Savvy, Wise, and Organized, episode 14. We are here celebrating today with Ricardo Tomas of Ricardo Tomas Weddings. I'm full of mumbly words here today.
Tongue-tied Tuesday.
Tongue-tied Tuesday, I like it.
Good. It happens.
Ricardo has a wedding planning business that's amazing, and he is known as the wedding architect. Tell us about yourself, Ricardo.
So I'm a native Texan, born and raised in San Antonio, and I went to the University of Texas and received my BFA with a concentration of architectural design. Now I'm tongue-tied.
Tongue-tied
Cool.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Join the party.
Yes. So I graduated in 1990,
Yeah.
way back, and been doing design ever since. And then moved to Dallas in 2000. Did a little bit of design while I was here. And then a couple of years later, in 2004, I went to a certification class, and that's how I got into the wedding business. And here I am 15 years later.
Wow.
Yay,
So
15
you're-
years. That's
Yes,
awesome.
yes, celebrating 15 years this
Yes.
year. And so are you.
And so am I.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Oh my
You're in
gosh,
good
it's-
company.
I think we've known each other for about 10
Yes.
of that.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I think I was able to send my first referral customer recently, and I'm like,
Yes.
yay!
Sometimes it takes a while.
I
Yes.
mean, you
Yeah.
just never know. And I don't know any other wedding planners, and what more of a perfect person,
Yeah.
though. And
Sweet.
all these years later, I've been following you, and I just,
Yeah.
I love the wedding planning business because it does, breed organization and design.
Absolutely.
So I thought.
His and hers don't equal ours.
Exactly.
We find that out all the time.
Yes. And now there's his and hers and hers.
Could
Yes,
be,
exactly.
yes.
Yes. The market, yes.
So your background as a architectural designer intrigued me just because of my interior design
Yes.
business.
All
and
in high school, I went to drawing classes and did,
Yeah.
everything.
Renderings.
Yes, and then of course, and then when I got to college, then after the year I graduated, then that's when CAD came into play. So
Yes.
everything
Oh.
before that was by hand,
Hand.
and now everything's by computer. So
Yes.
everything changed after I graduated. I'm like, okay, why didn't I get the software that now?
Right.
Is that what kind of led you down a different path? Because you were just like, no, I like old school, and I'm going to
Yeah,
do
I'm very
something
creative. I like to use my hands. So even back when, kind of before I even got started into the wedding business,
Yeah.
I was creating like both of my sisters' weddings. That's when silk flowers were in the
Oh,
range.
I remember that.
I used to do those infamous
Yes.
balloon arches.
Wow.
And, doing their quinceañeras, and then when they got older, then they got married. I got involved in all that. So I've
Okay.
always been that creative side of the mind.
So it's a natural progression for you
Yes.
from
Well-
the design world.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
bet you get to still exercise a little bit of that architectural design, like with the sets at the wedding
Yes,
and
yes.
different.
And that's one thing
fortes.
that I do tell my couples, about my background, being in the architectural design, is that I can
Yeah.
actually walk into a ballroom and I see things differently.
Yes, I love
So
that.
most venues, they have their standard corner, like this is where the cake goes, this is where the band goes, this is where the DJ.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, wait, why don't we try this? Why don't we shift the dance floor instead of a square on square
Yeah.
room? Let's turn it into a diamond. Or make it a round dance floor. So I'm very visual. I can see it, and sometimes I have to convince my clients. I'm like, okay, trust
Just
me.
trust
Yes.
me.
Look,
right?
I can see this
do
room
this
differently
every
once
day.
you have the lighting, once you have the tables and the staging.
Boy, I have that conversation a
Yeah,
lot.
same here. I was just thinking that. And
Trust
Yes.
the designer.
yes, and
Yes.
you're the expert. I'm the expert. You're the expert. So, what more power to us to just
Yeah.
relax.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let us do our
Yes.
work, right?
Oh yes.
Oh, my
yes.
God.
Yes.
So you've started the wedding business 15 years ago.
Yes. I
Fast
did.
forward, what's
Yes.
going on now? What have you learned? What have you enjoyed most?
I grew up pretty much an only child, but I did have siblings, half sisters and
Yeah.
brothers. So for me, each couple that I meet, each family that I meet, we become almost like family.
Sure.
So I do get emotional a lot with my families, especially like when the bride and groom are also single bride and groom. There's a bond, And then there's just a lot of emotion that it's attached to it, and that's the difference with a design client and a wedding client. So pretty much you're doing the same thing. Like in a design home, you're collaborating the his and hers, or his and his. You know, maybe he's contemporary, she's traditional.
Right.
Same thing with the wedding. They may have two different outlooks, so it's my job to kind of merge, add the colors, add the fabrics, textures, just like a house. But the
Right.
only added ingredient is the emotion, which
So-
I
Yeah.
totally love.
I think that's so great too, because I think of merging households, and from the organizational perspective, it's, you know, once they get married and then they have the designer and then it's just, it creates this
complete.
one, it's complete, and they feel more as one because they have each own ideas and their strengths here and there, and they pull it together and
Yeah,
just
they
make
haven't
it beautiful.
diluted themselves.
Right.
They've just
Right.
merged them together and
Right.
still appreciate
Yes.
even more about each other.
Yes.
But what you were just speaking with, for clarity for our audience, you have two facets to your business.
Yes.
You offer just a design service and then the full turnkey service,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yes.
So speak a little bit more about that, because I don't know if
Yes.
our audience got that.
So most clients, they have the time to, you know, in the age of internet, they have time to research and do that. So I do offer what they call month of or day of services, where I
Okay.
pretty much take over the weekend. So the client turns over their vendor list to me after they've done the whole year of research. Then we're coming up to the wedding. I get the whole list of vendors, contacts. So I reach out to the vendors and say, I'm the wedding planner of
Yes.
such and such, and I'll be the day of or month of planner. So please, you know, I'll be your contact for the day.
And
So
you're
when-
orchestrating everything.
Yes. So I'm
Okay.
pretty much like a project manager on the day of the
Got
wedding,
it.
or like
Yeah.
a director
Okay.
for the play.
That's unique.
Which is nice, because then that's just one less headache if something, you know, doesn't get where it's supposed to be. You're like,
Well,
no,
it's
no,
a
no.
light
Yeah.
service, but
Yeah.
still a luxury.
Yeah,
Yes.
for
It
sure.
allows it to be
Yes.
more
And
accessible.
what I do
Yeah.
tell my clients is, you know, I can plan it, or you can plan it. We can all plan for the perfect wedding.
Right.
There really is never a perfect wedding.
Oh, no.
Right.
And I get that from one of my mentors, David Caterers. He's a
yeah.
phenomenal national
Yeah.
wedding coordinator and event planner.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've learned to say that to my clients. I said, you know, you never know. We can plan the perfect flowers, the perfect orchestrated music, the lighting, the cake. I said, but the day of, I mean, it could just be a
Yes.
minor thing. I said, you know, if something I've had to literally sew a bridesmaid in her dress because her zipper busted. So I pull out my little
Sewing
emergency
kit. Yeah.
and I'm sewing. I said, don't move, you know, whatever you do, don't lift your
Don't
hand.
breathe.
Yeah.
Keep your flowers.
Do not breathe. Yeah.
I'm telling her to go down the aisle. I said, don't move, just stay, you know, keep your flowers
Yeah.
low. So there are little instances that I'm able to kind of
Save the day.
And as a planner, you only have seconds to think about stuff to do. Like you only have
Right.
minutes before the next thing's supposed to happen. So you can't always rely on a relative.
Right.
And that's the mistake that some clients do. They say, well, I'll have my Aunt Sally or Uncle Joe, you know, run our day of. I'm like, well, but they don't
They're not
have
gonna
the
enjoy it.
But
things.
for most people,
Yeah.
it's the one and only time they
Yeah.
do this. They're not prepared.
Right.
You do this 365 days a
Yes.
year,
Yes.
and you're prepared
Yeah.
for anything,
And
I would
I've
imagine,
seen
right?
a lot of different. It could be, like
Yeah.
I said, major to minor little
Yeah.
things that
Mishaps.
happen.
Yeah.
I
And
just
you
have
want
to.
that rescue on your
Yeah.
wedding day. You
Yes.
don't want to be.
Yeah. So why should people hire a wedding planner?
Yeah.
I know that's always a question. Well, I can do it myself, but you know, what are the benefits? Tell us why people should hire a wedding planner.
Well, for pretty much the reason I just explained.
Yeah.
You can plan for the perfect
Yeah.
Event,
Yeah.
and then the day of something
Whatever.
Yeah.
happens. The other thing is if they do hire me for full service, which is
Right.
another service that wedding planners in Dallas offer, which means you go and you help them find the vendors for their wedding. So it's almost
Right,
like
trusted vendors, I'm
trusted
sure.
vendors that
Yeah.
I've worked with, relied on, because there are some instances where I've had a wedding, maybe less than 5, where they said, "Oh, I've got Uncle Bill or Uncle Joe that can play. He's a good DJ." I'm like, but has he done weddings before?
Yeah.
Has he
Right.
emceed before?
Right.
That's a different story from
Difference.
just someone that just plays music, because you definitely want someone who's able to speak in front of people and make the verbal announcements. Like, now we're gonna have our bride and groom cut the cake. Now we're gonna have the
Yeah.
toast.
Yeah.
So if you have someone that's not comfortable with that, then it could totally ruin the whole essence and the flow.
Yeah,
of
the flow of the wedding.
And there's actually one instance, or maybe 2, that I've actually had to step in because the DJ just was not
Not
Oh,
good.
no.
up to
Yeah.
par. And so,
What was
Well-
the funniest experience you
Yeah.
had? I want to know. There's got to be
funny.
so many things
Yeah.
that just go crazy.
Yeah.
Bloopers.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because it's actually one of my first same-sex couples. Happened years, actually,
Okay.
like my first year into it.
Uh-huh.
Literally standing in behind everybody in the ceremony. It was an outdoor ceremony.
Oh, bless you.
And the couple is standing on the gazebo on the steps, and then in the window is the cake, and it's in
Okay.
a June or July wedding. And I'm standing in the back, and I'm starting to see this cake
Oh,
top layer starting to
no.
slide.
Oh,
and
no.
There's
It's
nothing,
hot.
and I could not
Yeah.
run because if
Yeah.
I go anywhere around the people,
Yeah.
they'd be
You've
like,
ruined the
"Where's he
frame."
going? Where's the planner going? Like, what's happening?" And
Yeah.
my only fear was that the guests were going to start to point while the couple was getting married. I'm like, "Oh, please don't make any
no.
attention."
The cake is falling.
Yeah, and all I could see was little feet go, and I saw like the staff of the venue run over there, and they
Oh,
were putting
no.
flowers and stuff to keep
Yeah.
it from shifting. And
That's so scary.
so I'm like,
You're-
oh my gosh, if this is like the first thing that happens to me, and I'm like, calm, okay,
Yeah,
maybe it's
yeah.
a good thing that
Yeah.
I'm here.
calm and collected.
That's awesome.
and-
But I did have to
yeah.
let the
my
couple
gosh.
know shortly after the ceremony was over, like, hey, we have to go take pictures with the cake. You don't
Right
have to
now.
actually cut
Yeah.
it. We're just going to take pictures. You can cut it later, but
It's
you just need to
short-lived.
do it right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
And they're
yeah.
like, okay, we'll do whatever you say.
But thank God that you had seen that, because then they might have missed opportunity to, have pictures in
Yes.
front of their cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
Eyes
another
and
funny,
ears, huh?
silly story that's maybe happened 3 times in my lifetime where I was doing weddings is right before the bride's about to do her garter toss, her maid of honor runs over to me. She goes, "Ricardo, so-and-so doesn't have her garter." I'm like, and I unzipped my little emergency kit. And I don't know what propelled me to have an extra garter.
garter.
Good for
And I
you.
said, "Here you go." And she goes,
Here's the backup.
"Are you kidding me? You have a garter?" And she goes, "What else do you have in that bag?"
Yeah, you don't wanna know.
And that's my experience with 15 years of
Yeah.
doing the weddings. Is
for
every
you.
wedding I learn, okay, I need
Learn
to have
something
this.
else.
I've had bridesmaids eyelashes, because some of them wear the false lashes.
they fall off.
They're like,
Yeah.
"Ricardo, you have any glue?" Sure. So every time
Yeah.
something happens, I'm like, okay, I need to get this. I
You're
need to write it
prepared.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you
that's the
have your
thing. Of,
toolkit, like,
of the
stocked.
unexpected on a wedding day, that
Yeah.
who in relatives are going to have something ready to go? Band-aids. I've got
Well,
aspirins.
People are going to remember that too.
Yeah,
the
When
details.
you save someone from a
And
big
it's the minor
mishap.
things that
Yes.
make, for
Yeah.
them it's huge, but for me I'm like, oh, let me just take care of that.
Yeah.
That eyelash will
I love
mess up
it.
all the pictures,
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
for
oh
sure.
my gosh.
Or a
Yeah.
bridesmaid shoe rubbing on her back of her ankle, and like, here's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
what else do you know?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
said. So it's things like that
It's all about the
give the
details.
value of having a planner, someone that can think on
Yeah.
their feet, because that's really what it is. Like I said, you only have seconds to think about stuff. You don't have minutes.
Right.
Because people want instant gratification. So.
Right, that's so true. So I'm just thinking back to, wedding day, like, just the nerves and all that kind of stuff. Do you plan destination weddings? I know we were talking about that a little bit.
I do, and those are a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I'm leaving, in about a week to go to Jekyll Island, Georgia for a destination wedding. We've been
Oh,
planning
so
this
fun.
for a year. And we've already been there twice to do
Yeah.
site visits, cake
Yep.
tasting,
Right.
food tasting, all the horrible things
How
you got to
fun.
do when you're a
Yeah,
planner.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You're like,
And
oh.
it's just beautiful. And I've done Los Cabos, Mexico,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is a beautiful wedding. So yeah, I get to just see places that maybe
That's
I wouldn't see,
awesome.
Yeah,
on my
that's
own.
so cool, because
Yes.
it's just takes the stress and all the details
That would be
out of
so
it.
hard for me to plan. I don't know how
Yeah.
to plan a destination wedding. I'd have to hire you.
Yeah, yeah.
There's just no way.
Yes, yes.
So your wedding business has afforded you to morph into some other personal ventures,
Yeah.
like the
Yes.
pageant business.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm involved with the local Miss Texas, Miss America organization. I've
Okay.
been volunteering since 2005, and I did say volunteer.
Yes,
So it is,
volunteer.
that's a misconception that most people have.
Yeah.
They think, you get paid to do that, and I
Yeah.
tell people my wedding business supports my pageant hobby.
Yes.
Because it is a hobby, it
Right.
is something I do, and it's all volunteer, and that's my way of giving back, because these girls win scholarship money for school.
So are you coaching the girls? Are you
Yes.
judging the contest? What are you doing?
So I've done both.
Okay.
So I've been a director for a couple of years, and that means you take a girl from our local. So my local franchise is Miss Plano and Miss Frisco. So I
Okay.
have
Okay.
two local cities.
Yep.
And then I take them every year to Miss Texas in the summer and hope that one of them wins.
Okay.
And I also have the teen division. So I've got 4 girls. So I have Plano, Miss Plano, Teen Plano, Frisco, Teen Frisco. So I always take 4 girls at least to state. I can say we've had 8 state winners for my franchise. We've had 3 Miss
Wow.
Texases and 5 Teen Texases.
Ooh, my girls are going to be
Congratulations.
teenagers soon.
Yes.
Maybe we need to look at that.
Yes.
Oh, how fun.
So are you coaching them on etiquette and
Everything.
how to walk and how to
Etiquette,
make up
walking.
and
Sure.
You know, all that, and then
Everything.
and then if they have
Wow.
talents like singing, dancing, we get them, you know, the right coach or the right teachers to help them with dancing,
Yeah.
and get the right choreography. You know, there's 3 of us that help run the organization, the local organization, and we kind of give our input, like on the music selection,
Yeah.
because it's all about
So cool.
capturing the emotion. Sometimes it's not technically being the best, but it's how well do you connect with the judges. And having been on that side, like you were asking if I judged, I've judged other state pageants like Miss Oklahoma,
Yes.
North Carolina. So I've been on that side of the table too, and it's actually more stressful to be a judge because
I'm
you're
sure.
changing the life of one young lady.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. That's
So
so
when you have
stressful.
40, 50 girls,
Yeah.
you're like, your decision affects, 49 girls will not be happy
Yeah.
with you,
Imagine.
but the one will.
One
so
will.
it is actually
That's
a little
so
bit more
interesting.
stressful on the actual finals day when you're doing the final pick. So
it's obvious though you have a
Yeah.
lot of passion about
Passion.
this.
Yeah.
I do,
Yeah.
I do.
So this is your way to give back.
It is.
That's so
And people are like,
great.
how do you balance all that? And I say, well, it kind of just works out because normally
Yeah.
in the summer, wedding season is a little bit slower because
Wow.
it's so hot in Texas.
Sure.
So that's when Miss Texas ramps up in the end of June is when the state competition runs.
Okay.
And it's actually in Richardson, so it's very close. You know, it started in Fort Worth and now it's in Richardson. So
Which is close, yeah. So it's easy to get to, and you know, makes it more desirable for you to keep
Yes.
volunteering and giving back. So I think that's so great. I mean, just to have that
Fabulous.
that connection to and the emotion behind, you know, not just having, you know, the wedding planning business, but being a part of these girls' lives, and then they probably remember that down the road.
well, they do.
You
in
know.
fact. Well, I've done 2 Miss Texas's weddings already.
Oh my
nice.
gosh.
So,
I was just
yes.
going to say, do they ever come full
Yes,
circle?
yes, they
Yeah.
have, and so
That's
that's
awesome.
I mean, that's not why I do what I do with
No.
the pageant, but it just like you said, comes full circle, and these girls remember how fun I was and how dedicated I was
Yes.
because I helped them find their evening gowns. Also, that's part of the job
How
Oh,
fun.
that's
of being a
nice.
director. Is you get to go dress shopping, you get to dress the girl up to be on stage. So that kind of also translates to the wedding business to where I enjoy that a lot with my brides.
Sure.
And I said, you know, I actually love dress shopping for the brides because I can tell them this looks good and I can be honest, but I can be,
Yes.
Right.
you know, in the right way. Because normally brides, they take sisters and families with them and they're like,
And they'll
everything
only
looks
tell you
good,
what you
everything
wanna
looks
hear.
good.
They don't wanna
but they're
make
not
them
being
feel bad.
Truly honest,
Yeah.
but I can be
Yeah.
honest and say, I like this, but I think this one really accentuates, you know, the venue. I can see you walking down the aisle. You're going to be able to move in this when you dance. Like they were like, oh, you're so right. I didn't think about
Yeah.
that. So that I see things differently too.
Yeah.
Funny story about that, when I was getting married, the short dresses were starting to come in, and I'm like, oh, let me try on a short dress just
Yeah.
to see what it was like. And I remember the woman, clear as day, at the dress shop, she goes, not with those knees. And I went, oh my gosh, thanks, I think.
You're like, thanks. I'm glad I don't know you because that
Yes.
was really mean.
I know. Needless to say, we ended up with a long dress, but it was
Yes.
just somebody. I'm like, okay, there's the epitome of honesty.
Duly noted.
Yes, exactly. I love it. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
It is crazy.
You know, I think what is the most important part of planning the wedding? I've always wanted to know, like, what is the most important piece of the puzzle that you really, you know, focus on?
And that's a great question. What I always focus on, in 2017, I hit 100 weddings. And I was very honored to have that, you know, milestone in my life in the wedding business. But so the challenge for me, or the challenge I accept with each client, is I need to make each wedding unique and different to that couple.
Okay.
So my goal is to pull those personal things, which whether it's a hobby, an interest, so if they're both sports buffs or both, you know, collectors of certain thing, or they're both travelers, like what is going to be the essential brand for this wedding. I call it brand because each wedding has its own brand and stamp, whether it's a monogram or just like this destination wedding I'm doing, where the compass is kind of like has been the monogram on the invitations, on the napkins,
Oh, that's
and
so
on
great.
the stationery for the ceremony program. So, and even on the welcome boxes, like there's a stamp of the actual wedding, almost kind of like your logo.
Yes,
There's
yes.
a unique brand to each
Yeah.
wedding. So that's my goal, is to kind of tell that story, because each wedding is telling the story of the couple. So,
Yes.
I want that to come out, because I want people to leave and say, oh, that was so-and-so's wedding. Like, there's no other wedding
Right.
like that. And that's really my goal, is to pull that information. So I always tell my couples, I'm going to ask you lots of questions, not that I'm just being personal. I just
Right.
want to know who you are, because I only see, what's on the outside, but I need
Sure.
to see what your interest.
Well, and that's what makes it unique for your business. And that's what we try to do in our business, is that we
Absolutely.
all have specialties. For example, Sorted Out, being 15 years in business, we get to know what our niche is and what we really enjoy doing. And for you, it's pulling out those details of the wedding that make you unique, and hiring a wedding planner so it's memorable.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes.
So,
Well, and as we do as well, we have to pull out a lot of information from our customers,
so much,
because
yes.
if we don't, we won't nail the result.
Right.
We
Right.
just won't. And
Right.
all that exploration at the beginning is so important, so that their closets and their homes are organized the way they want. Their homes and
Yes.
offices are designed the way they want, and it reflects their personality.
Yes.
And I tell you, that takes a special person to have the patience
It really
and take
does.
the time to do
Yes.
it, because there's a lot of people out there in all of our professions that will just go, well, this is good enough. Well,
Right.
but it's not great.
Yeah.
well, and I
So-
think people now, they pay for quality of service. And I always
Absolutely.
tell, all of our organizers, sometimes we're not going to work with every single customer, because we are about the quality of our service. You're about the quality of your service. You're about the quality of your service, not the quantity of people that I can provide the service to,
Right.
which I think is all so unique
be
with what we
discerning.
have. And I just want to say, thank you so much for coming in today.
You're
This
so
was
welcome.
so fun.
Oh my gosh, it is
And
over already?
I know.
Yes, I know, time
And
flies.
I know it goes by so fast.
Yes.
So I want to share with all of our viewers here, and
Yeah.
thank you again
Find
for
Ricardo.
tuning in every Tuesday and supporting us. As
thank you.
Nicole and I, we're really passionate about providing the resources and the tools to help our businesses grow, our guest business grow. So tell people how we find you.
So I have a website. It's called ricardotomasweddings.com.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm also on Instagram at rtomaswed.
Okay.
And don't ask me about my Twitter. I think it's called @weddingtime. I think
Yeah,
that's what
okay.
it is. But yes,
Yeah.
so I'm on
And on
those.
Facebook, are you on
And
Facebook too?
Facebook. I have my
Okay.
Facebook page. I'm on
Okay.
Wedding Wire. I always tell my clients, go find my business on Wedding Wire and look at all my raving reviews, because that's really the
Awesome.
testimonials of my
Awesome.
former clients,
Yeah.
not only the brides and grooms, but also the parents.
Yeah, the
I also
parents,
ask
yeah.
for testimonials
Well,
because
yeah.
it's important for them to chime in on their experience, because I cater
Yes.
to not only the bride and grooms or the wedding couple, but also to the parents.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
we
being
really
here. This is
appreciate
so
it.
great.
You're welcome.
And
Nice to get to know you.
thank you to all of our guests again for just tuning in here today at Savvy, Wise, and Organized. Nicole and I are just so excited to be able to bring all of our guests,
See
to
you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Thank you. That's so great.
Thanks for listening to Savvy, Wise, and Organized. To find out more about Tonia or how she can help you organize your space, visit her website at www.sortedout.com. To find out more about Nicole or how she can help you with your interior designs, visit her website at www.nainteriors.com. And if you want to hear more from Savvy, Wise, and Organized, subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. From all of us at Savvy, Wise, and Organized, thanks for listening.